Hey everyone, this is Curb, and I bring you another standard match. Today we're finally taking a break from all the Vanguard content to bring you something, I guess, also a little bit new from set 12. We do have Masques on the left, going up against my teammate Joshua playing his Chronojet. Now Joshua is still on the order build at this time, so we'll see how well that order build does against a new deck from set 12. To be fair, this mag list is kind of just the first draft I have, and it might not be the greatest. We definitely edited the deck since this video was made, so eventually once we get the deck nailed down, we'll eventually be doing the deck profile there. But we do actually see Mag guarding the first attack. Might not always be the greatest thing, because if we had taken that attack we would have just been able to heal there. But aside from that, Mag and most Max decks in general are decks that kind of just want to soak up damage in the early game, and then because they tend to use like a lot of counterblast, and they tend to convert that counterblast into really good advantage and like strong power. But obviously this is not me piloting the deck. This is actually one of my friends needed to borrow a deck, and this happened to be one of the ones I had built at the time. So anyways, I guess getting into the match proper, we do see the ride line. Of course, we're playing the Zorga ride line. It's just a little bit better for Magnolia, not to mention the traditional Magnolia ride line does kind of suck a little bit. And I'm not really into playing the Flagberg one this time, just because, you know, you have to play orders anyway. Habitat is such a good card in Mag Mass, so you might as well just keep your order package and then play the Zorga ride line. Speaking of orders, we do see the grade 1 coming on down, counterblasting the 1, searching out the order, giving the 5k to the Vanguard, and then of course it does get an extra 5k since he did play an order, and then calling out that grade 2, the triple rare from set 11, and let you Soul Blast 1 if you played an order this turn to check the top 3 cards of your deck, call one from among them, and then of course the rest gets shuffled back. So we are going to be seeing an upstream get called out from there, so we've got a decent amount of just pretty good aggression here. We got that upstream who's swinging for 10, which is a reasonable number. Of course, that is just a 5k guard, but you know, you've done a free attack, a free unit that you got off of that grade 2 is definitely nothing to sneeze at. Vanguard swinging for 15, which is a very difficult to guard attack, as we see another one of the grade 1s who's going to be a 13k booster, so that's actually going to be a 23 on both sides as we swing to 15. Obviously, you probably don't want to guard this. Hope the opponent doesn't hit into a front and we hit into a defensive. But even if we don't, it's still not that bad, because each of these swings, even though they are pretty threatening, are just a 15k guard apiece. Looks like we are just going to be committing 2 15k guards in order to block both of those attacks. Again, Mask, or all Mask decks in general really do want a lot of CB. So maybe we should have just taken those attacks, especially since it looks like we do actually have the Alpin there, so we'd actually be able to countercharge. But maybe that's the reason why we didn't decide to take it in the first place. But activating that habitat, getting the copy of the Bist Alvin, of course using the skill to counterblast 1, and just get a Dragon Tree marker, because unfortunately Mag Mask is one of the few mask decks that is solely reliant on getting those Dragon Tree markers. Whereas in almost every other mask deck, it's pretty much just like, oh, an extra little bonus. If you can get there, you get an extra 5k. And it's kind of just, if you use a searcher to search your mask, you know, you get a Dragon Tree marker. But Mag Mask needs those Dragon Tree markers, otherwise it does absolutely nothing. Which is why I think in this build we were maxing out on both Dragon Tree wrenches, the grade 1 and the grade 2. Looks like we're kind of deciding what we want to be doing here as we swing 13 at the upstream, actually. Which is interesting. I mean, upstream is definitely a super key piece. Looks like we're going to be guarding for a 1 to pass. I guess we don't really care about that. Hitting into a front and then another front. So that attack is definitely going to be going through. And this Bist Alvin is going to be swinging for just 28, which is still a very good number. It's a good thing we did leave that in the front row in order to get that free attack. So one of the main weaknesses of Mag, especially in comparison to a lot of the other Mask decks, is you really don't do anything if you go first. And that first grade 3 turn, we kind of just called a Bist Alvin, and then we swung and passed, not even getting 3 attacks. So if we had had an Inlet Pulse there, we wouldn't have been able to draw, but you know, whatever. As we do just see Chronojet doing Chronojet things, putting the Bolif in hand after Soul Blasting, Now, there is one more thing I guess I can mention about the order build, which is that it is much more susceptible to CB denial, because they are committing at least like one CB to that first grade 1, or if they end up leaving the order zone in the drop zone, then they have to commit another CB to get it back. But as we do see no stride skill here, not really, probably wouldn't have even gone for it if we could. It's because that Bist Alva is not really a threatening rear guard, and of course we do need the CB for Fate Rider. But we called down double upstream, which kind of explains why we really didn't care a lot about our upstream during that last turn, because obviously we had 2 more to replace it. Going to be taking that first swing. Maybe we could have just guarded that. I think I might have, in all honesty, if I just have a 15k. But we do have those 2 fronts, and you do kind of want to save them, and kind of, at least in my experience, I always just like to maximize my shield value as much as possible. Especially in standard, we don't really have that much shield, so wasting shield just always feels kind of bad. So maybe that's why we didn't opt to give the 15k guard there. But next up we got that 41. So Fate Rider is always just a swing. It's either take it or PG it. There's not really any point to ever trying to hard guard it. Unfortunately, we did see the Zargon come out there, as that means that we're going to be getting a bit of extra soul from this hit. Looks like we are just going to be taking Drive Check into Elementaria, Balif, and another one of the grade 1s. So not really a threatening, getting another damage, not hitting into any defensives, meaning that this 28 is going to be kind of difficult to block, but we do actually have those fronts, so it looks like we are just going to commit that there in order to, block that attack. 1 card guard. Fronts are just like so good, in all honesty. Just 20k shield makes so many just of those magic numbers, just like a 1 card guard. But enough of my praises about I almost said stand triggers, front triggers. We do see the GG coming on down, basically just using the Zargon in towards Soul Blast the 2, get an extra 5k and draw the card, of course, as we are going to be swinging once again, this time for 38. Pretty big number. I'm just going to be opting to take that. Actually getting a heal trigger and having it proc, so healing down to 3. So going into this next turn, we're looking pretty good. Looks like Chronojet's just deciding whether it wants to get that order back or not. I don't think we actually grabbed it back during the last turn. So, wait, did we activate the order this turn? I don't think we did. Oh no, we were deciding if we wanted to use the upstream skill, because we do have a full back row. But looks like we did decide to actually just put it back. Not sure if we're going to be calling anything. I guess we might be scared of Magnolia's retire skill, because technically we can clear the whole board here if we get enough of the Dragon Tree markers, which I can see another Bist Alva in hand, so it's definitely a feasible possibility. And I think we have another Habitat in hand, but we do actually see a new card coming out here, upstream, going into the Dark States Cycle card, the little grade 1 cat dude. That's going to allow Chronojet to countercharge, which is definitely a kind of a necessity in this build when you're playing Order. Just having the little bit of extra countercharge just kind of makes up for the counterblast that you're using to search out the Order. Normally in Chronojet, it's a nice one of, just because you use maybe 2 CB. You technically only need 1 CB to do all your plays, but if you want to use Stride Skill, of course, that is going to cost another CB. And just playing the cat, which is searchable, is just a very easy way to, get that extra CB that you might need. But we do see the Mask of Hydrogen procced here, using its skill to put itself into the soul, and then Superior riding the Magnolia Mask from the hand, and then activating the Persona Ride. I don't know why that was so difficult for me. But we see the Bist Alva from the hand, using the skill to counterblast 1, and then just get another Dragon Tree marker. Unfortunately, Bist Alva doesn't do a whole ton in the deck or in general, just because we're not playing it. Well, we do have a decent amount of orders, but realistically, you don't really want to be getting them back. You want to commit all of your CB to either the Dragon Tree marker creations or this card, which is the Force Glow Dragon, which on place actually allows you to counterblast 1 and then just straight up call anything from your drop zone up to the number of Dragon Tree markers you have. As we are going to be seeing here, calling back a grade 2 and a grade 1 wrench using the grade 2 skill in order to counterblast 1 and soul blast the 1 and get that Mask of Hydreigon, just deck thinning, allowing us to get that much closer to hitting triggers and getting good cards, and giving another Dragon Tree marker almost putting it in the front row, forgetting that we need it in the back row in order to actually, do things. But we are going to be using the Magmask skill to removing the other copy of Magnolia, activating the Mask of Hydreigon, which is interesting. Normally, I think I said this in Leonord when I played the deck, you don't always want to activate it. Sometimes it's better as pitch fodder because you can totally whiff. But with a deck like Magmask, you definitely do have a lot more targets because you're playing 7 to 8 copies of the wrenches. So actually activating it, you don't have that high of a chance of missing. But I guess getting into the attacks, we are going to be using the the skill that we got off of it to just retire. And we're seeing 3 swings for 23, which are 15k guards. So they're not really anything to sneeze at. But at the same time, if we have the shield committed, it's pretty easy. You swing the Force Glow, its skill is going to allow you to get an extra 5k to your Vanguard when it swings. So normally that's a card that I would put in the back row, just because, you want to be swinging with it first. And currently in the build, we are playing just a lot of front triggers, because of apparently the front row is always going to be your weakest attacks. We do see a draw trigger coming out there, giving it to the wrench, swinging for a 30. Unfortunately, like I just said, those front row numbers are kind of pitiful. They're only getting Persona right, so they're just 20. But looks like we're going to be taking that, going to 5, or is that 5? That's 4, right? And then just going to be hitting into a heal trigger, and then just healing back down to 3. So going to be going into this turn. We could theoretically use the Jet Stride skill. No, honestly, we might maybe just use it on the Force Glow Dragon, because Force Glow Dragon is not a card you want Magnolia to have in the drop zone, because you can actually chain those together. If you call a Force Glow Dragon from the skill of a Force Glow, you can actually use the skill because it just activates whenever it's placed. It doesn't actually care where it was placed from, but it does actually care when it was placed. So you can actually multi-attack with it, which is kind of unfortunate, but hey, that's standard. They're kind of just future-proofing everything. They don't want anything like too crazy to happen in the future. But looks like Jet's in a little bit of a pinch here. We have a completely empty board, which is not where you want to be. You do want those grade 1s in order to actually, time leap them. So the fact that Upstream effectively did minus, I guess, in a sense, as we do finally see the Force Glow putting to the bottom of the deck. Thankfully, we do have another grade 1 here, so we don't really have to worry about that. We are going to be committing its skill to Cannon Blast 1 and then add the order back to our hand. So finally getting it back into circulation. If we do activate that order, of course, that's going to be a 13k booster, or just, a 13k attacker, or in the case of the Crest, obviously a 23k attacker. So it looks like we are going to be activating the order, choosing to Soul Charge 1, and then probably just deciding where to give the 5k. I mean, might as well just give it to the rear guard, right? That the Vanguard is always swinging for really big numbers, so I don't think an extra 5k is really going to do it very much help, as we do see the 5k given to the grade 1, and then of course its own skill is going to give it another 5k. So this is already looking at a 28k rear guard here on its own, because crests are the second most fair thing in Vanguard standard right now, other than over triggers. But we do actually call down the Lemaine, which is kind of interesting. I guess we don't really have anything else to call. So honestly, like, that mag skill came in like very, very handy during that last turn, as you see. So looks like we do have the Zargon. Might as well commit the Zargon. Although, looks like we are going to do. I was going to say maybe you want to keep it for pitch fodder or just like shield, but looks like we are going to be maybe time leaping, although I think in this case we just time leap the grade 1 that we called there. Swing at the Vanguard with the whatever that thing is called, the grade 1. Swinging for 51 with the Vanguard. Thankfully, once again, 28 numbers are no problem once you have the effect front. Gonna be PGing the Vanguard, pretty typical. We do technically die to double crit here, and sometimes Jet does randomly just throw out double crit and win. But we do have 2 columns that are, one that's pretty good, the other I think it's at 25, so that's at least a 15k guard, so it's not as bad. We do have that draw trigger that we got last turn, and then the intercept, which is definitely a fine guard for that Lemaine over there. But this other upstream is swinging for 45, which is definitely more than a little bit scary. Hitting into a critical trigger there, so pretty good that we actually managed to PG that, giving the power to Lemaine. So now she is at 35, which is definitely going to call for a lot more shield than she was before. Swinging the 45, I believe we gave all the effects to Lemaine, so maybe there was a debate. There could have been a debate about, you know, giving it to the upstream instead, but I don't know. Well, I guess it doesn't really matter because I was gonna say, why are we swinging with the smaller attack first? But technically, upstream is gonna convert itself into probably something like a GG. It's gonna be a 13k booster, so that'll be 48, I believe, in total. As we do actually hit into a defensive, which is definitely nice for the Magnolia player, because, you know, that's gonna make it that much easier to guard. And of course, because we did stack the crit on the Lemaine, that makes this attack lethal, so the opponent does have to guard it. So you are kind of just like limiting their CB. Just ignore what I said about not swinging with the upstream first, or not giving the crit to the upstream, because I'm not a good player, and I didn't see that forward, but I can see it now. I see the lines now as we're swinging the 48. That's going to be a 25-point guard that we do have to commit. So committing the front trigger and then actually guarding with the draw trigger. I think I might have intercepted there, but at the same time, if you don't actually have a better attacker, there's nothing wrong with just like using the draw trigger, because sometimes you do want to overguard even if you have better, if you can use shield more efficiently, just in case you have better attackers. But it looks like we actually had enough in hand, so maybe we should have just intercepted there. Wait, would that have been enough? No, that would have been 48. I'm bad. I can't do math. That was the correct play. Although I guess you could commit another 5k and intercepted. But whatever, it is what it is. Using the habitat, calling another Bist Alva off of it, using the 1 CB that we have in order to actually get another Dragon Tree marker, because Magnolia actually does not just give an extra 10k to things that are attacking from the back row. It actually gives extra 10k to everything that attacks on a Dragon Tree marker. So a bit unfortunate we actually didn't get Persona Ride, so this this poor little Neil Serving, or whatever his name is going to be a very small attack as we swing in, taking the first damage. Thankfully not hitting into a defensive quite yet. Gonna be swinging with at least 3 23k attacks. We did also have the Force Glow, but unfortunately I don't think there was really anything really good in the drop zone at the time. Going to be taking that second attack and hitting into a heal trigger, probably the best case scenario here, as we do swing a little bit of a misplay. The 23 at the Vanguard, we probably should have swung with the grade 2 at the intercept, because literally we just wasted an attack, because that Neil Ring or the grade 2 wrench wasn't going to be hitting anyway. So unfortunately we're going to have to just deal with swinging with those buffaloes, and then each of these is just going to be a 5k guard, so super easy to guard. I don't think we got a trigger off of the Vanguard swing, so things are looking pretty dire here. And honestly, maybe if we had just guarded the upstream and then taken the Lemaine, we probably would have been in a much better situation. We would have had 2 CB to play around with, and I guess we could have committed the extra intercept there, right? Yeah, if we had just guarded with the 20k shield and then intercepted with the well, no, we didn't have the defensive trigger. That would have been 38, and then call another 15k, or even just done the 20k, and or you guard with a draw the front and then the intercept. That should be 48. Guard the upstream and then take the 2 crit, just to have the extra CB. We could have used that Force Glow, at least to be something a little bit stronger. At 25, we could have, if we had called another Force Glow off of the first Force Glow, those would have been a little bit better of attackers from the back row, because they would have been pumping up your Vanguard, so that even without Persona Ride, we would have still been able to swing for pretty big numbers. But unfortunately, we are here at the end game for Jet, which is when it gets just kind of stupid, as we see a GG just swing for 38 for no reason. Very fair and balanced, guys. Thanks for the Stride deck sets, and thanks for the next 2 that are coming out as well. But we do see this Vanguard swinging for 28. Going to be taking that 38, because we really just are kind of exhausted for resources at this point. Not hitting defensive, our really only win con here, or I shouldn't even say win con, I should say survival con, is just getting OT, and then even then we did drive check a Persona ride, but that's not really going to be enough to save us in this situation. So if we have the PG, obviously you PG the Vanguard, but if you don't, you know, it is what it is. As we do see a crit flipped over here, just going to be putting some more extra salt into the wound, giving another 10k to, I guess, the other regard, because it does kind of need it, although at this point it's you know, not really necessary. Going to be drive checking a second, and then the third, not hitting into anything, but we're going to check the next damage, and it's just going to be a draw trigger, so that is going to be the end of the match. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to do all those YouTube things, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.